All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble, where this morning I was not able to do the normal uploads. The uploader was not actually working. So if you're watching over on Rumble, my apologies, but those videos, I don't automatically collate them there because of the tagging system, and I couldn't upload for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why. I tried different browsers. I tried different videos, including short form videos. Nothing would upload, like it wouldn't actually go to processing. So I'm not exactly sure what's happening over there. I do see that we're live on Rumble. For some reason, it auto-played this time. It's very intriguing. I think Rumble might be in the midst of doing some sort of update. That probably explains it. I do see people are watching now, and chat is working. Misfit Noof, first clank. Shilly Willy, good morning, clanners. I think you mean clankers. Mrs. Tag, clinkety clinkety, and yes, Shilly Willy correcting himself. Tech Stoned Amish, says Clank, and many more clanks to come. I thank you all for joining me for your news hour. We've got a lot to cover today. First and foremost, of course, the Biden crime syndicate. That story is ongoing. We have new revelations there. I'll be talking about those. Also, just some updates on what's happening over in Russia with the Wagner group, Ukrainian war, and so forth. And Kinzinger, he's very, very upset right now because some MAGA ralliers decided to shove some supposed neo-Nazis, which are some of them probably glow in the dark, aside because they didn't want a bunch of people showing up to fly swastikas at a populistic event. I will talk about the heckler's veto and what that means for such situations, my advice going forward, among other things, of course. And Brian Krassenstein really stepping in crap. Krappenstein, maybe? Ha ha ha, dad joke. It's funny because it's not. We'll talk about that as well. A few other topics. Barack Obama on India. He, again, really showing his true colors with regards to foreign policy. Anyway, we'll start right in a moment. But first and foremost, I wanted to make an announcement to those that aren't already aware. Of course, I made a video on it earlier, but YouTube tends to throttle people from, seeing whatever I post. So, and I couldn't post it on Rumble. So to the BitChute audience, they all got aboard with it. There are stickmen available. Yes. Once again, I want to show you this. Do you see this beautiful little stickman? You can have one if you want, but you're going to have to bid on it. 24 more are available on eBay. And they come with a certificate of authenticity. They are notarized. Some people, trolls, I don't think that they're actually going to try to do this, were saying that they wanted to print their own out and flood the market, so to speak, which is like, you're telling me I'm irrelevant, but you're saying that you're going to print out 100 stickmen and flood the market with them. Very intriguing, yet again. They come with a certificate of authenticity. They are available. Link is at the top of chat if you're watching this video on YouTube. Cross-platform, of course, it's in the description. And you can bid on those. I am not in control of the prices. The artist is not in control of the prices. This is bid only, so people pay what they think that they're worth. They are signed by the artist. They do have a certificate of authenticity. And again, this is notarized, like as in you go to a notary public to have it stamped and file it off. So it is effectively a quasi-legal document. We decided on that in the end. The original plan was to have a little 3D printed placard that went along with the stickman, just signed by the artist with the G-stick sort of thing in back, the little sticker. And but the price went so high that was insufficient, so they got notarized actually. I call sticks my daddy sometimes. I am not the father. I'm not responsible for feeding you. Let's see. Sebastian Monroe. Good morning. The corrugator at work is under repairs. Thankfully, you started just in time. I hope you have an awesome day. It has been a spectacular day so far. It'll be even better later because I get to make my veggie soup. Well, veggie noodle soup. I might add chicken. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe make it a chicken noodle soup. I make good soups. You would like them. Trust me. I understand herbs and spices more than the average New Englander. Jerkwad 152. When I was young and had no sense, I took a whiz on an electric fence. It curled my hair and shriveled my balls and made me crap in my overalls. I hope that you're telling the truth. Awesome Diesel. We are live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Yeah, there are almost as many people watching live on Rumble as on YouTube. My apologies again to the Rumble audience. I could not get the uploader to work this morning. If any of you are in regular contact with the people that run Rumble, please do pass a note along to them if you can, because I would have loved to have uploaded the videos, especially the one with the Stickman issue. OMG, he read my comment. This is the best day of my loaf. Andy 6 reference much. Not a banned account. Your permission for my SO and I to role play as you? Of course, if you want to. I have no problem with people fantasizing. I'm a married man, of course. But, you do you. Literally, you might do yourself, jerking it off a little bit. I'm in a good mood today. I'm fairly high energy. It's funny, and I never expected this. This morning, the cat decided to attack its sister. Yana always attacks Farah. It's never the other way around. Farah is the good kitty. Yana decided to attack her at about 6:15 in the morning. And of course, Farah, didn't like this and yelled because she's being attacked. And I woke up the baby very, very early. For some reason, when I'm woken up early, and this is never something from my past, I used to hate it, I have more energy throughout the day. I'm thinking maybe I should set my alarm clock for 5:30 just to get more goddamn work in. Hunter Wadley. I don't understand people that don't like edible mushrooms. There are lots and lots of them out there. Some of them will make you see bizarre things. The rest are just tasty. Have you ever tried fairy ring mushrooms? They're actually good. You can eat them raw. No, they are edible, by the way. They have a little bit of a woody taste. They're better sauteed. They should be treated effectively like an oyster mushroom is treated. And if you cook them that way, or like a shiitake, if you cook them that way, they're actually delicious. Unpopular take. Metal is the only acceptable musical genre these days other than 50s music. I like the 80s myself. I like new wave. Yeah, Cyndi Lauper's pretty great. Anyway, we'll get into the news at the risk of going off on an epic rant. Slayer to Gamer. Have a good day, Sticks. Clank. Many clanks. Yeah, it is funny how Rumble promotes me now. So as opposed to YouTube that demotes me and tells me that I'm terrible, Rumble tells me that I've got talent, and they put my video up and people can actually find it. First news story. Who is lying? Merrick Garland or the whistleblowers? Well, I mean, we know the answer to that question. You don't normally go up against the DOJ's apparatus if you have nothing corroborative to say, because then you can get in trouble. I think Merrick Garland understands, though, that he can't really get in trouble because he's running cover for Joey, and the fix is in, and they expect Joey to win re-election. So he's looking at a few more years of his particular position. I think that's what they believe. The Biden crime story has gotten bigger. When it first broke, some time ago with the Hunter laptop, and we understood Biden had lied to the American people about not having met with individuals that he provably met with, et cetera, et cetera. I labeled it effectively a non-story. It's interesting. It's definitely evidence of a wide-reaching scandal. The subsequent cover-up blew it open. But now we have more. We're understanding that Hunter Biden attempted to shake down a Chi-Com investor at one point. And we have pictures of Hunter Biden being in proximity to his daddy on exactly the same day. Now, why this is relevant is that if you look at the text that Hunter Biden, on WhatsApp, by the way, sent to the Chinese businessman, and this is corroborated. We know that this text was actually sent, although it wasn't investigated further. And I'm sure that they've scrubbed those servers and bleach bitted and destroyed them with hammers by now under orders from the FBI. We know that the text is real. And Hunter Biden insinuated to that businessman, hey, don't fuck with me because daddy's right next to me and we would like to know what the fuck is going on. Hey, you should call me in the next 24 hours. Otherwise, you're in deep shit. It's a shakedown. Effectively, it's Hunter Biden wielding the power of his daddy for political gain. Now, this text comes from an era, mid-2017, in which Biden was not actually in office. So it's not a crime. We're not looking at a crime when we look at the WhatsApp message. We're looking at somebody who was in office peddling influence. Well, fuck. Every former politician peddles influence if they know what's good for them. You think that if I was a senator or something like that, once I got out of office, I wouldn't be trying to make money like a good capitalist? I have no problem with that. The problem is this. The problem is that the White House will not remark upon this. Hunter and Joey just happened the other day to go flying out to Camp David for the weekend, indicating there's a reason that they want to talk to each other. It seems like a legal issue. I wonder what it could possibly be related to, and that it was lied about. The big thing that we see here with this particular instance is the lie. We know that Joe Biden met with people that he categorically denied ever having met in his life, certainly in proximity to his son that was working with him in his business sense. So he lied. We know that this was covered up by the FBI. We know that the IRS was leaned on. We know that the DA in Delaware was leaned on to not go after this case, was denied repeatedly and on 3 different occasions to go after this these particular things with regards to the tax return specifically in the falsehood on Hunter Biden's gun purchase form. This is what we're finding out. We're finding out that the entire federal apparatus was weaponized to defend Joe Biden. Even though this particular instance is not technically illegal. Again, Joe Biden was not in office when this WhatsApp message was sent. It is perfectly lawful for him to lean on a Chinese businessman and use his influence to say, hey, you know, knees can be broken backwards in this business. You know, it's basically a mafioso tactic. There's nothing illegal about it. Hey, it'd be a shame if your business burned down. Good thing we offer fire insurance. Hey, there are gangs in this area. But if you pay us enough money, we'll make sure that we protect you. It's a protection racket. That's exactly what Biden was involved in. The problem is that the public needs to know that this happened in order to make a sound judgment in an election. They didn't know in 2020. They were unaware of the fact, by and large, that the Hunter Biden laptop had been corroborated, was real, was not Russian disinfo, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now this is being blocked off from the mind of the public as well. The fact that Joe Biden provably lied to the entire public, the point that Joe Biden was peddling influence. Again, it does not matter that it's illegal. It matters that it's relevant in voters' minds if they knew that it occurred. And that really becomes the problem here. What you have is multiple IRS whistleblowers saying that other forces came in and muzzled them. That is, that they didn't want the IRS to look too deeply into some of the material pertinent to Hunter Biden. Well, fuck, I wonder why they wouldn't want them to do that. It's because it's a cover-up. That's the whole point. It doesn't even necessarily, by the way, extend to Joe Biden himself. I'm getting the sense, the strong sense, that Joe Biden, as the puppet that he is, and we know that he's a puppet, is simply being covered for by people who do not need to coordinate with Joe Biden at all. If anything, if he were to coordinate it, he would fail because he's demented. They're coordinating amongst themselves to try to cover for him because of a combination of orange man bad, we're scared of populism, and we need to maintain stability at this time because if political hell breaks loose, it'll wreck the economy. That is my opinion. I don't even think that Joe is the one orchestrating it. He orchestrated multiple business deals, possibly in an illegal fashion. He's not even the one that's in command right now with regards to this particular story. But they're trying everything that they possibly can to prevent an investigation from going forward. They stopped the IRS. This is the IRS. This is a weaponized federal agency. They wouldn't even let them touch the subject. They wouldn't let the Attorney General in Delaware touch the subject. Hell, they barely let the elements of the FBI broach the subject. Merrick Garland, from the top down, micromanaged every aspect of this. He has denied this. Now, Merrick Garland has come out and denied it, but the White House hasn't. The White House doesn't have dick to say about this particular event. That's very telling. If a political scandal is on the horizon, like let's say Bizarro World, Styx Hexenhammer is president of the United States, and it were claimed that I had lied to the entire nation, I had done things that might be even felonious in nature. At the very least, I lied. I may have broken the law. If I know that I'm innocent, I will come out next day and deny it. I'll say flat out, I didn't do anything wrong. Go ahead and fucking investigate me all you want. It'll be a partisan witch hunt and fuck yourself. That's what I would say. Maybe I wouldn't last long as president under such circumstances, but you get the idea. That's not what Biden and his people, Karine Jean-Pierre, etc., are doing. They're deflecting. They're not denying it at all. They're simply neglecting to address the issue. When people who have law degrees and business degrees and stuff like that simply refuse to answer and pretend like it's not relevant, or, hey, I'm not going to waste my time bothering to answer this bullshit question, that's because they're guilty 9 times out of 10. It's because they know that they're guilty. And they're hoping beyond hope there isn't a paper trail. Under any other circumstances, I would expect there not to be one. Multiple presidents in the past, senators and people in the House and SCOTUS members have done things that are illegal or at least dubious. They're close to illegal enough to be investigated and warrant an investigation. Normally, you don't have a paper trail because one hand washes the other. They're members of the Uniparty. They cover their tracks really well and they help one another do so. The problem is that Joe Biden appears to have been the super dad in this case. And I mean, he was showering with one of his kids till she was 10 and constantly complains about how another one died of brain cancer, died in Iraq, even though he died in a military hospital after possibly being exposed to DU, depleted uranium, for those that don't know. And with Hunter, you know, the one kid that he can count on, he happened to be a crackhead for an extended period of time. As Sleazy P. Martini will tell you, crackheads are not particularly reliable when it comes to covering up their paper trails, hence why he left an incriminating laptop for an excessive period of time at the fucking computer repair store. It's one of the ultimate stories of the century at this point. It's fucking goddamn hilarious. Do we think that a person who didn't even have the foresight to say, hey, maybe I need to get that computer back now that the data's been recovered, do you think that he might have made other mistakes? Why do you think he was in Camp David for several days with Joey over the last couple of days? I think that I know the reason why. They're scrambling right now. If anything, while I don't expect there to be, you know, removal from office or anything like that, I don't have the optimism to hope for that. At the very least, I expect there to be more screws loose than people currently see with regards to the story. And I expect at least enough follow-up so that people will understand that something screwy went on. So that's my thoughts with regards to that. Not a banned account. Real reason Western governments outlaw shrooms. They're legal here in the Netherlands. They're legal in some parts of the United States. Also, you know, they grow everywhere in cow patties anyway, so don't worry about finding psilocybin. Psilocybin will find you. Not a banned account. If the president does it, it's not illegal. Nixon. Yeah, Biden has that particular atmosphere about him, too. Hunter Wadley. Thanks for wrecking Harold Sissy on Twitter. It's not hard. I mean, he's a DNC paid shill. He's paid in part by the DNC itself. Harry Sisson, by the way. Harry Sissy. Ozzy's Robots. Good morning, Sticks, Clankers. Just in from Alaska. Holy hell, it's beautiful state. Sunny weather every day and no mosquitoes. Oh, it's my birthday today. Happy birthday to Ozzy's Robots. Chat can give him a good clank. And, yeah, no mosquitoes? Yeah, they must be coming late this year. Gnarly 66. Just watch your gun control debate against Jack. He clearly had no knowledge or experience with firearms. Claiming 556 left kids unidentifiable. Well done, my dude. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, if you shoot him 30, 40 times, it could definitely disfigure a corpse, which is what I pointed out towards the end. If you actually believe that claim, what you're arguing is that the police screwed up so badly that a psychopath was riddling the dead bodies with bullets for an extended period of time. How lovely. Tokar, S1671, Digital Platform Commission Act of 23. FU? I'll have to look into that one. S1671. Just a sec. S1671. Digital. Okay. Digital Platform Commission Act. I'll look into that further. Thank you very much for the tip. I'll give my opinion in a future video if it's juicy enough. Not a bad account. Is Russia's expansion a threat to the Netherlands? No, not really. I think that Putin is more fixated on parts of Ukraine than anything else. It would take, I don't know, maybe 500 years from now, he would have reached the Netherlands at the current rate. Nick Ray, 47. Salty, I wasn't able to watch your new tech exclusive. Rumble and Odyssey were down. Oh, Odyssey didn't load it either? I uploaded it. King of Biltong, over on Rumble now. Good morning from Antons in Roanoke, Texas. Hashtag Clank Nation. Yes, you can get your Biltong from Antons in Roanoke, Texas. I believe he has defected to Rumble, as many people have. Not without good reason, by the way. other than them needing to improve their uploader slightly. Just a mild proposal, my friends. Swamp Donkey 69420. Do you think Hunter's screw-ups will cost the big guy the election? They could, and it would be funny. But they'll blame a third partyist if that happens. They'll blame Cornel West or whatever. Lou. The only argument for gun control is emotional. Agreed. Not a banned account. Has the Netherlands won the war on farmers and nitrogen? They have not, as far as I know, yet expropriated that farmland. They are legally trying to. Protests are ongoing. If things come to a head, I'll probably supply some live coverage because, thankfully, for once, I would be in the time zone of what's going on. Trav 2016, 1/21/2021. Official YouTube White House account posted Biden's speech and Hunter's voice pops in at 1:16:30, announcing he has accepted a plea deal. Vid is unlisted. So there's a video listed over on Rumble. You can, I'll take the link. I'll review that later and see if that's true. Swamp Donkey, again, did you see the New York Pride marchers singing, "They're coming for your kids"? This kind of Weimarification may cause a Weimar reaction. I was under the impression that that was people recording that were against the parade itself. I've looked into it. I can't find any corroboration one way or the other at this time. Next news story. We've got various Wagner Group updates. And again, I'll point this out first and foremost right up front. I'm not an expert on Ukrainian-Russian relations, and I'm not physically over there in Eastern Europe. So you're not going to get a whole lot of updates from me. What you will get from me is a fair admission that applies to virtually every commentator. We all want there to be some independent commentator out there who has the inside skinny on any event that happens in the world. Sometimes, more often than not, that's not really the case. What is the case is that most people are being speculative. We don't know what's exactly happening with the Wagner Group. I'm seeing reports that their leader has absconded, that he's gone or disappeared, KGB'd possibly, or that he's in Belarus, or that he hasn't left yet. I'm hearing reports that Wagner Group is reforming in the south of Belarus, waiting to attack Kiev, that they're still on their way, that forces are still occupying areas in southern Russia, and that Wagner Group is partially disbanded. I'm also hearing reports that they have grown in size. I'm hearing reports that Russian military members have defected. Wagner has defected. Russia is going to gobble up Wagner. Wagner is going to be moved to Belarus for operations, not be in Russia. Every claim under the sun that could possibly be made about the situation has been made over the last few days. As such, my caution to people is don't believe everything that you read or that you see. There are manipulated videos, sometimes year-old clips from long ago that are being presented as new. I hear plenty of propaganda from NATO countries. I hear plenty of propaganda from Russia and from Belarus to an extent as well. Ukrainian propaganda, Wagner propaganda. I'm seeing literally every possible thing under the sun that would make me say the situation clearly has gone full fog of war mode and nobody really knows what the fucking hell they're talking about. I hear that the Wagner insurrection or revolt or attempted coup or freedom fighters or terrorists, etc., is bad for Putin. I hear from some people that it's actually Putin pulling the strings. The whole thing has been orchestrated. He's swinging those people around to attack Kiev. Again, I don't fucking know. And I'm one of the few commentators willing to admit that. I don't know what the fuck is going on over there. My only caution is to say neither do you. None of us know what's going on. People in high-level intel don't know what's going on. Hell, when you get a statement direct from the Wagner chief, from Zelensky, from Putin, certainly from Joe Biden, if you can decipher what the hell he's saying in the first place, you're not even sure that what's being said is true. The only thing you can vouch for is that it was actually said. Well, they made the claim. That doesn't necessarily mean the claim is true. Supposedly, Russia was supposed to fall in like 24 hours. Now, all of a sudden, Wagner is no longer anywhere near Moscow. That's one of the few things that we do know. As far as what happens from here on out, what Putin feels towards Wagner Group, etc., we don't know. because we can't read his mind. If we could, then this channel definitely wouldn't be having problems with the algorithm if I could read Putin's mind, if I could just put it all out there. Let's put it that way. In my opinion, fog of war has devolved further. It was already there to begin with, but it's gotten far worse. And everything is completely opaque with regards to the situation over in Russia. In my opinion, unless the war ends in a catastrophic manner, nobody's likely to ever know the truth. Everything will be covered up, say, like Gulf of Tonkin style. Maybe 50 years from now, we'll get some details from the Russian government, the Ukrainian government, Wagner, etc., leaked to the public or something like that. I wouldn't expect anything significant now. Things could change very quickly. As I said the other day, things could get messy very fast. That's still very much the case. Again, we don't know the dynamic between Putin and the Wagner group at this point. Certainly, we don't know why Belarus would even be brokering something. Kazakhstan, their leader, their prime minister or president rather, has called up a meeting. We're not exactly sure what happens from here on out. The situation could re-devolve very quickly into fighting, skirmishes, civil war, nuclear war, anything else under the sun. At the moment, though, we don't know exactly what's going on, so any speculation is just that, speculative. The Patriot Cairo, it is now best practice in New York State to hide from parents that the child is transitioning. Leftist extremists want to legalize child abuse. Yeah, I did see that. Wilden, have you thought about streaming on Kick too? Isn't Kick only for gaming for the most part? I mean, it'd probably end up like Twitch. They'd probably just fucking ban me like Twitch did when I had 5,000 people following me there. I realized I would get banned, and I said, well, you know, at least for now, I'm just going to post my videos there anyway because it's funny. I know that I'm going to get banned, but it does not matter. Orwell's Goon, in the process of drafting my first novel, pros and cons of self-publishing or going through a publisher. A publisher, potentially, depending on the kind of novel you're releasing, can get you more money, number one, at least intermediate term, and potentially more advertising, assuming you're talking about a mainstream publisher. I don't know what kind of book you're publishing. POD is much simpler. You can do it all yourself. You don't need a third party to give you permission on anything. You can do your own cover art, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, that means if it's a good product, you can potentially outstrip having used a publisher. If you are not familiar with the editing process and all the ins and outs of publishing, a publisher is a good idea, generally speaking. I've worked with several brick and mortar publishers, only one of which was reliable in the end, actually. But I don't know if you're talking about mainstream, like large publishers, or if you're talking about sort of small business publishers. Takar, S1671, brief summary, a bill to establish a new federal body to provide reasonable oversight and regulation of digital platforms. I think I may have already talked about that one, actually. I'll look back into it and see if we're referring to the same bill that I talked about some time ago. Soulstorm 9000, have the Bidens finally been Order 66'd? We shall see. Dark Gary 92, I'd love to send you money on Rumble, but I can't comment or chat on my Rumble account for some reason. One day, though, one day. Yeah, Rumble had a problem earlier with uploads. Unfortunately, I couldn't upload my standalone videos, actually. I'm going to try later again just to get them up there if I can, but the uploader didn't work. Shaker Silver, most likely this coup was a feint by Putin to smoke out genuine dissidents and fool the West. The online reaction shows how little they get Russia. That's also a possibility. We don't know. Yeah, take your pick. Literally, you could create a dartboard with all of the different theories, and it would be a fairly beefy-sized dartboard at this point, and just literally throw a couple of darts, and you'd probably be as close to the truth as anyone who's just giving their opinion based on reason at this point. It's the opaque nature of the fog of war. Ozzy's Robots. I'm sure at bare minimum, Putin has all the Wagner Group's family members under lock and key. That's why the story died quickly. I don't know that that's the case. It is possible that he's begun to lose control of the situation. It's also possible it's part of his plan in the first place. I don't know. I hear a lot of people claiming to know one way or the other, but I hear other people countermanding them, and none of them seem to be able to offer me proof. That Manx guy sent $10. No comment. Thank you very much. Sparky, fog of war is a major league cop-out by those who rely on the legacy media. I don't rely on legacy media at all. I constantly call them out. But I'm willing to admit that there is a fog of war in effect. And literally said that on the first day of the war beginning, if I remember correctly. Shim Pool. Sticks, it's the 2-year anniversary of the Chaz occupation. Remember Chaz? I remember the Chaz Garden very, very fondly. I haven't laughed I haven't laughed that hard since seeing that fucking garden. I'm going to laugh a little bit thinking about it now. For those of you not aware, look up Chaz Garden if you want your laugh of the day. That is Antifa attempting to create an urban farm. Oh, God, that was great. I wish there was a Chaz Garden every day. President Irina Vladimirovna Putina. I have to be honest. Part of why I want Russia to win is because I'd love to watch the cope from the Reddit NAFO types. That would be kind of funny. I just want people to be at peace. That's all I want. War sucks. Bunch of fucking horse shit. Anyway, we'll go to the next. We covered that. I got more tabs now because I had to open several. Next news story. We have the Fed boys getting demasked. And I talked about this morning, but it's too juicy not to talk about it again. This is funny. There's a link in the description. It is archived. If you go to the live link, you'll be able to watch the video clip. It's about 2 minutes long, so it's not long. Adam Kinzinger decided to weigh in on this. Over in Oregon, there was a group of MAGA. It looks like a composition of some Proud Boys, some Libertarians, and some CivNats, so like populist MAGA hat wearers. And they got together to wave the U.S. flag and, show solidarity with the concept of the United States, which is innocuous. It's considered to be politically incorrect now to have any support for civilization. But generally speaking, people as part of a civilization, they kind of appreciate it. There are definitely things we could do to improve it. We could use more helicopters to give communists free air travel, for example. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Adam Kinzinger does not like this situation, though. Some Fed boys showed up, and I guarantee at least one of these is a Fed. That is a guarantee. I don't know if the ones that were unmasked were. Some people claim so. I'm hesitant. I'll say allegedly at least one of them is a member of the government, and another one is actually a Nazi, like literal card-carrying supposed Nazi. A bunch of nationalists showed up, ethno-Naz, and they were going to, I guess, wave the swastika around. Next to the MAGA and Libertarian and CivNat folks. Now, the first thing is Kinzinger's response. Adam Kinzinger, former congressman, by the way. I'll just read it out verbatim because it's so fucking mystifying that he decided to make this tweet. These people, all blue checks. Oh my God, how terrible. You respected them back when it was a sign that Twitter acknowledged your presence and agreed with your political views, I would know. Are celebrating a seemingly MAGA assault on federal officers. Now, I don't know what this really is, but take a gander at the comments of the patriots who love America. Damn right, if feds are trying to infiltrate and use the heckler's veto against people who have innocuous political beliefs, pragmatic political beliefs, yeah, unmasking them is fine. By the way, how is pulling a mask off someone's face assault? I mean, what are you talking about, dude? Antifa does 10,000 times worse than that on the average night. They don't even need to be drunk to do it. So Adam Kinzinger is a piece of shit and a disingenuous fool, effectively corroborating the concept that these are at least in part feds. Well, yeah, probably. I don't know if the ones that were unmasked are the feds, but I guarantee that there's a plant there. Secondly, when people show up at your rally and they have an entirely different ideology. So let's say that you have a rally of Republicans, for example. This is generic. They might be Jeb Bush fans. And another group shows up. They're libertarians. Let's flip this on this head. Libertarians show up with their Gadsden flags and stuff, and they're all dressed as Thomas Jefferson. And they start shouting about 1776. What do we call this? It's the heckler's veto. It's not actually a form of expression at all. It's an attempt to prevent another group from meaningfully expressing itself. What I see here are a bunch of people, some of which probably are ethno-Nats, and others of which are feds, attempting to prevent another group from airing its grievances, speaking out, promoting itself, and expressing freely. It is the heckler's veto. When you show up and you try to blend in with another group of people, you are effectively engaging in a de facto heckler's veto. And the reason is quite clear. I get the news van was probably 10 minutes away when these people showed up. The idea is to show America a picture of people in MAGA hats or with libertarian paraphernalia next to a bunch of neo-Nazis Sieg Heiling with their swastikas. Well, I mean, this is probably for a reason. Yeah, it's probably on purpose. It's probably not. Do you think these people knew that these others had gathered at the street corner without some sort of intel? I highly doubt that. And so I am enjoying Adam Kinzinger, what I'm seeing here. Fuck them if they're feds. Feds should not be involved in using taxpayer money to try to muddy the waters for the American people and present a false narrative about people's political beliefs. If anything, it just harkens back to Obama getting rid of the ban on the U.S. government using the media for propaganda. Well, again, the news van was probably 5-10 minutes away here. It's propaganda. It's an attempt to make mainline populism, which is the norm of like 1983. There's nothing extreme about it. Libertarianism, which, you know, in its furthest form is out there, but in the general form tends towards classical liberalism, a la, you know, the antebellum period or something. And to take these movements and to somehow coordinate them with National Socialism, which has literally nothing in common with them whatsoever. Now, I have no problem with Nazis, real or imagined, holding their own rallies. If I walk down the street and I see a group of people with a swastika Sieg Heiling, I don't give a fucking shit. It's their free expression. They can say what they want, believe what they want, and they're going to continue to say and believe it in private anyway, regardless of anything the government can do. That's fine. Hold a Nazi rally. Get every white nationalist in the United States together in one place. You know, all 5,000 that actually exist. You can have your Cathedral of Light. You can reenact Triumph of the Will. You can do gymnastics. Do whatever the fuck you want. But when you're going to somebody else's gathering to try to tarnish them or to harass them in some way, I mean, clearly the so-called Nazis are approaching the other people here. Go the fuck away. They don't want you at their particular event. They don't want you there. It's like, imagine that you have like a gathering of people with their kids and then a bunch of nudists show up and wiggle their wangs around. They don't want you there. They're not interested in their kids seeing the penis. MAGA is not interested in your swastika flying at their rally because the two things are only coordinated in the minds of the public because of legacy media propaganda. And that's why this is most likely Fed work. Go ahead and it's perfectly fine. You want to hold a Nazi rally? I'd watch a Nazi rally. It sounds like, at least you have spirited military music or something like that. I wonder what you would serve. Probably bratwurst or something like that. You have your imported German beer, which tastes like fucking gym sock drippings. That's perfectly fine. If other people want to have a political event for their own purposes, leave them the fuck alone. Don't be a dick. Even if they're not feds, they're dicks. And that's the long and short of it. My thoughts. Real talk, man. 487 Sean Tower. The big tell is no arrest of Wagner, and he was friend of Putin in the past. Go way back. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they were friends in the past, so I'm a little bit on the skeptical side when they say, well, this is a huge hit for Putin. Now, I think that he was probably redeployed in a different area more than anything else, and that was the way that they did it. You go up towards Moscow, and then you can bend over towards the west and make it to Kiev without the Ukrainians understanding that that's what you intend to do, because they think that you're about to attack Moscow. Well, you're halfway there, and the Ukrainians haven't bothered to prepare an effective defense. We'll see probably in the coming days whether that is a possibility. Alej BT. Hi, I live in Mexico. Everything is spiraling down fast. My theory is that China is helping the cartels create chaos in the country with the help of the Mexican government. The violence is alarming. I feel sorry for you. I think that China definitely does exercise some influence in Mexico, although probably not the direct Mexican government, which actually, the executive head of your government was friendly with Trump and has spurned Biden, the globalist. I don't think it's that. I think it's more local and regional officials than anything else. But yes, Mexico has some significant fucking problems, and it's about time that the Mexican people take matters into their own hands. Read into that what you will, by the way, as a suggestion. Disclaimer, I abhor all forms of human violence. That Manx guy. Styx is right, war sucks. I fought one. The Iraq war turned me from a hawk into an owl. Good for you. It did the opposite for John McCain, you'll notice, once he realized how lucrative being a veteran was for his career. Sparky, like our fearless leader, Prigozhin believed Western legacy media, so he thought that Russian military was weak. He thought he was helping Russian military by overthrowing military leadership. I'm not sure that that's the case, although it is a competing theory. There's about 15 of them at this point. Lou, guys, I swear, I thought communists could fly. Wink. Yeah, free helicopter. I mean, they believe in free shit. Free helicopter rides. Take a tour of the city. Come on, free. Only to commies, because we're your friends. Ozzy's Robots. Funny travel notes. In Seattle, Uber driver said Chaz was torn down. Cruise ship ran out of Coors and Miller Lite with 3 days left. In Vancouver and Alaska, there were minimal pride items. Woke is mainly hype. Yeah, I don't see, it's funny, I don't see wokeness anywhere here in the Netherlands. Supposedly, this is a socialist nation. I don't believe that it actually is. I think that's a minority of the population. The largest political conglomerate at the moment in their parliament is the Farmers' Party. It's literally a bunch of people representing Don't Steal Farms. Sparky, aside from the few Wagner troops on Prigozhin's protest march, Wagner is intact and being absorbed into the regular military as planned. Yes, that does appear to be true. There's largely absorption of Wagner. A few thousand Wagner troops who joined Prigozhin are seen to be misled, so were pardoned. They likely won't be military any longer. They also won't be entirely disarmed. There might be border incursions from over in Belarus into Ukraine, actually. 47 Sean Tower. Just reminding everyone there are 8,000 actual card-carrying members of the KKK out of 330 million Americans. OMG, you're done for. Yeah, I don't even think it's 8,000, actually. Sparky, Prigozhin was a celebrity chef who got rich. It's like having Gordon Ramsay as owner of your mercenaries. Well, look at Zelensky. He was an actor. It seems to be lately a trend over in that part of the world. And Putin killed people for a living. Awesome Diesel. The Australian government dropped a draft anti-misinformation and disinfo bill for online platforms bill yesterday, Sunday. Do you have a book of arguments against this like you do with the Second Amendment? I have supported free speech in the ultimate form for many years, but I don't have a book actually on the subject. And of course, the First Amendment wouldn't have anything to do with Australia. It appears that Australia is still a prison colony, much like it was originally. Swamp Donkey. My issue, though, is why is it that wearing a mask is auto-fed? Wearing masks protects identity from the obvious. The mouth-breathing right doesn't seem to get this. One definitely is a fed, though. Yeah, that's my point. At least one person there is a handler, a fed handler. Guaranteed. 100% fucking goddamn chance. It doesn't have to be the ones that got unmasked. But if you decide to jostle a crowd of potential feds and you unmask them all, get a good picture. Eventually, you're going to find out that you were right and that at least one of them is a fed, and you'll be able to unmask them, verify that, and put it out on the internet. It seems to be the only solution. The final solution to the problem of fake Nazis is to take their masks off. Marian Holtzman, look into Richard Medhurst reporting RE Russia. He's got a good grip of what's going on. Interesting times. Cheers. Juskov, Adam moans when putting his tampon in. Yeah, get it up in that colon a little bit. Next news story. Brian Krassenstein is complaining here about libs of TikTok. He does this habitually. Number one, seeing him, I'm just going to read out his tweet because it's fucking stupid. Seeing a man naked on a bike isn't going to have much of an impact on any kid. They have likely seen their father or brother bother naked before. I think he means brother. Number two, sharing an uncensored video of a naked man on a bike to an audience of possibly 30 million kids on Twitter is arguably worse than riding a bike naked in front of a kid or two in a planned event that the kid's parents took them to. Number three, there are much worse things the average kid will see or hear online and offline in a typical week. Well, the third part is true. Yeah, I'll agree with Brian Krassenstein. We'll give him 1 out of 3 ain't bad. Sharing out the video to show, hey, this is what the left is up to. Is not targeting kids. Yes, there are minors on Twitter. Things typically are marked sensitive on Twitter, and if you haven't shown ID, you ain't seeing it. Same is true on YouTube, by the way, at this point, which is actually a good change, sort of splice the site up between, okay, you can do what you want, and okay, you're clearly 12 years old or something like that. Personally, I would just kick anyone under 18 off of YouTube or Twitter anyway. The sites would improve somewhat without the Zoomer crowd in there shitting it out. Harry Sisson would be very sad, I think. Is he under 18? Probably is. Certainly his mental acuity is probably around 10. So, yes, I would agree with him on one thing. Here's the nuance. Nudity in and of itself is not necessarily sexual. Simply being naked, in vast parts of the world, simply being naked like at home or something is not considered perverted. being naked itself is not being sexual. That being said, is this really the hill that you need to die on, Brian? Oh my God, you shared out the clip. So basically, you're calling Libs of TikTok a pervert for sharing a clip that you claim to have no problem with because you don't see the behavior as problematic. Now, I would see it as problematic for dudes naked on the bike to be approaching the kids and talking to people and stuff, etc. If somebody's just streaking in the nude, in the wild, so they're out in the woods, they just want to be a naturist or something, they're just naked, and they're not doing anything, they're not approaching anybody, not talking to anyone, etc., interacting with them, I don't care. That's not sexual behavior. They just want to feel the breeze on their privy parts or something. Once they go up to like a 10-year-old though and start engaging them in conversation, isn't that at least a little bit creepy? I mean, in some places you'd be in jail for doing so. Exposing this, as opposed to exposing yourself, of course, Brian, is perfectly fine. This is it. Do you think that the average person, by the way, under 18 watches Libs of TikTok? Supposedly, the younger generation is massively far left, massively woke. If any of them are seeing what Libs of TikTok is posting, aren't they just there to ridicule it, Brian? I keep hearing from you in all of your bravado that the youngest generation is the furthest left you can possibly get. Basically, they think Bernie Sanders is like Ronald Reagan. So what's the problem? Oh, I don't see a problem with this. I think exposing it is fine. People make up their own minds. It's interesting that he has more of a problem with the exposure of the video and the concept itself than the actual act thereof. I would agree with him, though. A person simply being naked is not a sexual act. We all have a body. Look, those kids are looking in the mirror. They're seeing their nudity, too. That's a non-starter for me. I'm not a moralist. I don't really care. But when you've got the naked dude on the bike parading around, celebrating his pee-pee, basically, and going around in front of kids and interacting with people, that's a different story. It just is. And if it were a straight pride event and there were dudes with their pee-pee out at a straight pride event, and they go over to a group of 10-year-old girls and they start talking about how great being straight is, they'd get a restraining order. They'd get put in jail. They'd get called pedos, which, might be true. They at the very least, they'd get exposed by the internet, and you wouldn't have a mumbling fucking problem with it, Brian. The Patriot Cairo, per your Vax video, it is false that I can't read that out on YouTube. I'm sorry. It would be labeled medical disinformation, although I have spoken of it at some length, so my apologies. Sparky, Prigozhin's antics did expose regime change plotters in Belarus. Likely not planned, but Russians were able to aim their loose cannon. Prigozhin. Possibly. Again, competing theories exist. I just want that war to end. I want to go over to like Ukraine and Russia sometime and see all the sites. I'd like to see Chernobyl. I'd love to eat borscht, eat all the food. Opinionated Junkie, Coinbase won their case. Oh, excellent news. I'll be looking at it here just a sec. I'm going to queue that up. That'll probably be in the docket for tomorrow. Excellent. And yeah, I've also got the White House video there, supposedly with Hunter. Next news story, really quick. Barack Obama rowing India over former U.S. president's remarks on Muslim rights. Yes, Barack Obama is basically saying that the Hindu majority in India have to deal with Islamofascism. And if they don't, they're evil and they're bigoted and they're terrible people. No, not really. I would say when you have a group within the country disproportionately associated with ethnic and religious violence, you're allowed to address that. And Obama, of course, doesn't want that to actually happen. I wonder why. Why could it have something to do with the same ideas of the Arab Spring? When he wanted Islamists to take over Tunisia, Egypt, Syria. There were other countries. Libya came later. But basically to overrun the entirety of North Africa and the Levant region in favor of having a Saudi-sponsored Islamofascist set of regimes that could congeal into a caliphate potentially. That's what Obama wanted. Why the fuck would anyone trust his judgment? My advice to the people of India is to get tough, motherfucker, because you've got a culture that's long and storied. It dates back thousands of fucking years. Do you realize how old the Vedic culture is? Yeah, let's just let it get wiped out by people that want to kill us all. Forced marriages, although that does happen in some very orthodox Hindi households as well. Forced marriage and rape and stuff like that. Let's instead of continuing to improve ourselves, let's backslide. Let's get away from civilization. It's a bad thing. We'll be woke. We'll be tolerant towards people who are literally intolerant towards the concept, in some cases, of India even existing. I respect the Indian people. There are definitely some goddamn potholes that have to be smoothed over on their road to improving themselves, but they've done a damn good job considering the time frame and the competition involved and some of the things they've been through. Plus, India is a rising power in this world. They can actually float 2 aircraft carriers in a coordinated manner. China can't. I talked about this last week. China is being left behind by India. You've got every possibility in the world. You've got also some of the greatest food in the world, by the way, although, you know, it can be a little bit smelly, but oh boy, God, does it taste fucking good. No, you shouldn't tolerate Islamofascism. No, you should not bend over backwards and take it in the ass from terrorists. It's not about Islam itself in these cases. You're talking about a minority. You're talking about several groups. Certain Islamic minority groups that are really gung-ho thuggy style, which you've already fucking dealt with and had to have the British help you eradicate, and communists. In certain provinces, there's also a lot of commie terrorism in India. If you can solve those problems and develop more basic infrastructure, then you'll surpass China. Just to be clear. Not a bad account. Backlash against LGBTQ now. Anti-Semitism tomorrow. I keep hearing that. The Nazis are coming back. I thought they already won in 2016. I've been told since then that everyone's a Nazi. Patriot Cairo. Demasked, you cucked out of my question. I'm sorry, but I value my channel. You can always ask that informally. Sparky, Brezhnev let Khrushchev live out the rest of his life since they were friends. Yeah, I mean, it's possible that ends up happening between, Vladimir Putin and what's his name from Wagner, but we don't even know the dynamic. The problem is we just don't know the dynamic between them at this time. Next news story, just really quick. Trump effectively is now a shoo-in for the Republican nomination. I believe that he will win. It's not a 100% chance because he could die or something like that. But barring his death or incapacity, I think that Donald Trump is the Republican nominee, and there's nothing anymore that can stop him. DeSantis has waffled around in the same zone for long enough, and with each new news, Trump keeps growing his support. And then it recedes a little bit, but each time the recession is a little bit higher than the former height. I think that when he recedes back to the norm, barring any future indictments or anything, it's still above 50. I think that Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee. What happens in the general is entirely up for grabs because we're not 100% sure because we've breached so many precedents already with indictments and spying scandals and shit like that. I can't tell you at this point. We'll have to wait until closer to the election to see what's happening. One thing I would say, though, and this is the follow-up, I agree with this Washington Examiner article in part. I'll qualify it with that. GOP voters, which I'm not one of, I've never been a Republican, weary of Trump's airing of the grievances. I partially agree with this. Donald Trump is capable of putting together a platform like he did in 2016, a platform effectively of positivity. Hey, we need change. Here's the change I want to deliver. Fucking vote for me. While his actual campaign statements, which he's uploaded online on Rumble, YouTube, etc., are very good overall, on education, on online censorship, on the right to privacy, the rights of kids, in schools and so forth, with regards to some of the culture wars, certainly on energy, foreign policy. Trump is scoring all of the marks that he needs, but those platforms are being ignored by the legacy media to a meaningful extent on purpose. What he needs to do at his rallies, when he's talking to the actual flesh and blood people, not with a screen between them, talking to his constituents, it is perfectly fine for him to mention 2020 and mention that the system is corrupt. It's perfectly fine for him to mention the indictments and the dual system of justice. But he has to go further. He has to start delving into more meaningful issues. People are hurting right now, economically especially. There are wars and rumors of wars going on. And Trump can draw a meaningful contrast between his presidency, especially the first 3 years of it, and the Joe Biden * administration. But he's whiffing it on that issue so far. He's focusing more on 2020 and on indictment and making that part of it about himself. Now, the other day, there was something that was posted. And it got, I only saw it because there was a community note on it that I think I rated unhelpful. And I can't remember who it was, but they were like, oh, when Trump speaks, he's all about we. When DeSantis speaks, he's all about I. He always uses I. Now, that's an oversimplification, but linguistically speaking, it is mostly true. Donald Trump does revert more into saying we MAGA, we Americans, we this movement of mine. DeSantis tends to talk more in the personal sense about I have done, I will do, etc. There is a contrast to be made, which is important. Trump can dovetail that in with his campaign as well, potentially. But when he segues into 2020, it's more about the I. 2016 was entirely about the we. We're going to wreck the system. We're going to punch it in the face. We're going to fuck him in the ass. That's what Trump needs to do. It's fine to bring these things up. And indeed, what I think Trump needs is a clear pivot. He needs to pivot away mostly from worrying about 2020 and indictment gate by saying, look, they want me here. I'm Donald Trump right now. Here's my speech. They want me to play by their game. They want you to have to play by their game too. But the game is crooked. So let's decide not to play by their game. I've got various ideas for the United States. You've seen how I've governed already. Here's X, Y, and Z. Here are my platform proposals. These are my campaign pledges. Vote for me based on those. We can talk about the past like my enemies talk about the past until the cows come home, but ultimately it is meaningless. What Trump should do, in my opinion, because the Democrats are constantly talking about J6, they're talking about 2020, cast them as the ones that are focused on the past and cast yourself as the one that's focused on the future, because the recent past has not been very great for the United States and the West in general, because we've been suffering under Bidenomics, inflation, Bidenflation, et cetera, et cetera. Cast yourself off as the one that is not going to dwell on the past and is simply looking forward to the future. Be dismissive. Be assertive and dismissive of their indictment. The indictment means nothing. I'll be found not guilty. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter if in the end he is found not guilty. What are they going to do? Put a former president in a jail cell with the Secret Service members attendant waiting on him hand and foot, bringing him his black coffee and his toast or something? Fucking bullshit. Please send no more super chats, by the way. We're running up on the hour. Swamp Donkey. Many of the people on the left are fans of Magnus Hirschfeld and John Money. These people are feral sexual deviants. Sigil Stone 17. Krassenstein encouraging strange behavior towards kids? Oi, Gewalt. Magnus Hirschfeld would be proud. Two people mentioning Hirschfeld. Sparky. Blinken, Newland, and Sullivan are psychopaths who replace the usual sociopaths who run U.S. foreign policy. A lot of psychos and sociopaths in U.S. foreign policy. That's true. Not a bad account. Democracy was fortified once. We can do it again. They will try. That's a guarantee. Sparky again. Didn't you get the memo? Blinken's condescending white man's burden style of diplomacy has India beginning to play nice with China. There are new geopolitical paradigms afoot, Sticks. I am hesitant to believe that any more than I believe that Turkey is doing anything other than straddling the line for economic benefit. The same may be true of Egypt. Jury's still out on that, although the U.S. did try to overthrow their legal government, so I wouldn't put it past Egypt to lean on towards the Eastern world. By the way, pushing Turkey west in the process. There's a duality there. Cityware. Prigozhin interview on YouTube. KT67, I6, WEQ4. Flows for 1 hour. Interesting. Doc Holiday. I'll send a super chat if I want. Well, I do appreciate the money, but I also appreciate getting the stuff for veggie soup tonight. Although it may be a chicken veggie soup, I haven't quite 100% figured it out. Anyway, I'm going to go offline now, but keep in mind to those watching cross-platform, link in the description or at the top of chat on YouTube, you can bid on the Stickmen. Again, 24 more of these are available. Those are all that will ever be made. They come with a certificate of authenticity, which has been notarized by an actual notary public and signed by the artist. And so you can get those. Once those sell, there will never be more available. We've decided on that. There might be unlimited runs of other merch in the future, but for this, there will only be the 28 plus the one that's behind me. And that's all that there will ever be. So if you want a Stickman, you can go ahead and do that. I don't care if you print out your own, but you can't print the notary public's signature because unless you've already bought one, you wouldn't know necessarily what it looks like. So yeah, may the bidding begin. It's a good time had by all. And I want to see some of those Stickmen, by the way. If you make videos, make sure to send me a link with you talking with the stick man behind you. I will be back tomorrow. I do thank the nearly 7,000 people watching live, and many more, by the way, on Rumble than on YouTube. It's becoming a usual thing. I'm thinking about making more exclusive streaming and standalone material, new tech only, because YouTube keeps abusing me. But I don't know why. I've been a naughty boy. They're trying to spank me. That's about all.